As Vice President Harris appears to have momentum in polls, the former president has tried to paint her as a liberal extremist, often comparing Harris and her running mate to former presidential candidate Senator Bernie Sanders, suggesting their policies are even further left.
As she gives off this California, San Francisco vibe, he has this sort of Bernie Sanders in hunting gear vibe.
She was trying to position herself to the left of Bernie Sanders.
She was to the left of Bernie Sanders.
She ranked and scored to the left of Bernie Sanders.
She is considered more left-wing than crazy Bernie Sanders. Look at her. She's worse than Bernie. She made Bernie Sanders look like a moderate.
Because she's an extremist. Further to the left than Bernie Sanders.
Joining me now, Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders. I don't know if they sent out a memo and everybody's just like reading off this memo, but
I guess so. I guess so.
It's like to me, this is like when Woody Allen had Marshall McLuhan in the line in Annie Hall and said, I happen to have Marshall McLuhan right here. So here's Senator Sanders. Do you take that as a badge of honor? I mean, is it a fair comparison in your view?
Look, Kamala Harris is I would say, a very strong mainstream Democrat. She has been, she has her views on this or that issue. But if anyone is worried that she is more to the left than Bernie Sanders, I think it's not quite accurate.
Harris has clearly,
for better or for worse.
Right. Yeah. Harris has clearly reversed herself, though, on a number of more progressive policy positions that she held when she ran in the primary for the Democratic primary in the 2020 election. Do you think she's at risk of losing some of the core progressive base because of it?
No.
Because it raised concerns for you.
This is the most consequential election in a lifetime. She is running against somebody who is not only a pathological liar, he is a very dangerous guy. You are familiar with the reality that just the other day he announced that the 10 or 15,000 people who came out to the vice president's rally in Michigan, they really weren't there. It was just artificial intelligence. I mean, you're in a crazy world here. And I think every progressive in America understands that we've got to do everything we can to elect Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. And it's not only his lying, he denies women the right to control their own bodies. He thinks climate change is a hoax, et cetera, et cetera. So I think the choice is incredibly clear. And I think progressives from one end of this country to the other are going to do everything we can to elect the vice president.
You've obviously endorsed Harris. When you and I spoke before, you had endorsed her. You'd said you wanted to make sure that she would represent and fight for all the working class issues that you have devoted your life to. Clearly, you feel she has met that bar. You've endorsed her. I'm wondering what you make of the campaign that she and Governor Walz are running.
Well, look, she has come. I mean, you got to have enormous respect for the fact that just in the last few weeks, she has put together a campaign. She's been in many parts of the country, brought out huge and enthusiastic crowd. She's raising money. The polling is good. She selected, I think, a very good vice presidential candidate. All of that speaks a whole lot to her leadership, and she deserves a lot of credit for that. The point that I have made is that I happen to believe that at a time when so many of our people in this country are struggling, when you got 60% of our people are living paycheck to paycheck, when we have massive income and wealth inequality, when we have half of our elderly people living on $30,000 or less, I think not only is it the right thing to start talking about issues that are of concern to working class people, it is really good politics. I did a poll last week. Our campaign did a poll, and what it showed is that overwhelming majority of Democrats, independents, Republicans, for example, believe that we should expand Social Security benefits by lifting the cap on taxable income, which is now, I think, at $168,000. You do that, you could raise incomes for low-income seniors in a very significant way. Overwhelming majority of the American people think we should not pay more for prescription drugs in this country than people around the world, which means lowering prescription drug costs by 50%. Can we do that? We really can do that. We can expand Medicare to cover dental, hearing, and vision. We should have a tax system which finally asks the billionaires to stop paying their fair share of taxes. Despite what Donald Trump may think, these are not radical left ideas. This is what the overwhelming majority of the American people believe, is good policy, including a majority of Republicans.
The Washington Post is reporting tonight that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has attempted to reach out to Vice President Harris to meet about a possible endorsement, just as he met with Donald Trump about a possible endorsement. Would you see any reason why Harris should do that?
I mean, they got to figure that stuff out. I have not paid a whole lot of attention to the Kennedy campaign. They will make their own decision on that.
There are likely going to be large demonstrations by pro-Palestinian groups opposed to the war against Hamas at the Democratic Convention. The Biden administration has got a lot of pushback, obviously, from progressive voters on the issue of Gaza and U.S. support for Israel.
Yep.
Do you think that animosity, I don't know if animosity is the right word, but that concern, do you think that has crossed over to Vice President Harris? How much of an issue is this going to be for her campaign moving forward?
Well, look, Anders, let me be very honest with you. I have I believe that the Biden administration has been probably the most progressive administration in the United States since Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Biden said he wanted to do that, and I think he has kept his word, and Kamala Harris has been by his side. So on domestic issues, they have a whole lot to be proud of. But I think the president has been wrong in terms of his support for Netanyahu. I happen to agree with the International Criminal Court that what Netanyahu is doing in Gaza, the massive killings, the destruction of the healthcare system, the destruction of housing, the bombing of every university, and now creating a situation where tens of thousands of children face starvation. The United States, in my view, should not be providing another nickel to Netanyahu and his war machine. That's my view. President Biden disagrees with that. Do I think that will have an impact among young people, among some progressives? I do. But at the end of the day, I think most progressives will say he is wrong. The president is wrong on Gaza, but the alternative is Donald Trump, and that is not an acceptable alternative. So we've got to keep pushing the administration to change its views regarding funding for the Israeli war machine, but we have got to defeat Donald Trump and elect Kamala Harris.
Senator Sanders, I appreciate your time.